If binge-watching Breaking Bad, Narcos, and The Wire has taught us anything, it's that drug smugglers are an eccentric bunch. Considering the drug trade turns over hundreds of billions of dollars a year and results in hundreds of thousands of deaths, it's bound to attract some huge weirdos with loony ideas and unscrupulous methods for stacking cash and racking up bodies. But as is the case with most things, reality is often far stranger than fiction. Here are some of the weirdest, most disturbing, and downright craziest ways that real-life drug smugglers have tried to hide their illegal products. Let's start with the most basic, and even that's both extremely dangerous and extremely disgusting. You might think a drug smuggler needs a bunch of complicated and high-tech equipment to ferry contraband across the borders, but in a lot of cases, all they need is a condom and an empty stomach. Practitioners of this method are known as swallowers, internal carriers, and body packers. They numb their throats to avoid discomfort, then swallow as many as 200 cocaine-filled condoms, each one carrying around 2 to 50 grams. If this is making people with sensitive gag reflexes nervous, don't worry. Body packers have been known to insert the drug capsules anally too. If the perpetrator makes it through customs without getting caught, they'll take laxatives to evacuate their extremely expensive cargo and then collect their paycheck. If things go badly, radiographers at customs will catch out the would-be smugglers and they'll face legal consequences. But there are far worse fates for body packers than an extended stay in jail. There are 35 countries that still have the death penalty for drug smugglers on the books, and some countries are still very actively pursuing those punishments, such as Singapore and China. But you can still face a terrible fate from body packing before you're even caught. Occasionally, the capsules will break inside the body packer's stomach, spiking their systems with a massive cocaine overdose. This is incredibly unpleasant, according to one Barcelona emergency room doctor who's dealt with a number of ODing body packers. A cocaine overdose can produce a psychotic episode and a nervous state that ambulance personnel will try to treat with injectable diazepam. If the drugs have spread throughout the body, one of the common effects is vasoconstriction, increased blood pressure caused by the constriction of blood vessels. Heart attacks and vasoconstriction are the most common causes of death in those cases. If we suspect that a patient has overdosed, we perform a barium X-ray. The barium also has a laxative effect. If we discover that it's indeed a severe overdose, we'll immediately have the drugs surgically removed from their system. Animal lovers might want to plug their ears for this next one, because human stomachs aren't the only ones used for drug smuggling. And sometimes the methods drug smugglers employ in this regard are outright monstrous. One Colombian heroin outfit smuggled liquid heroin in the stomachs of puppies in 2005. When the US DEA raided a farm operated by the cartel, they were able to rescue 10 purebred Labrador puppies, 6 of which had already had their stomachs cut open for the storage of 3 kilogram or 6.6 pound heroin packets. While the puppies were rescued, not all of them survived the harrowing ordeal. 3 of the 6 who'd been infused with the heroin packets died of infections after the drugs were removed. Smuggling drugs inside literal puppies would feel like the work of a silly cartoon supervillain if it wasn't so gut-wrenchingly horrifying in real life. But if that wasn't unholy enough for you, what about one crazy drug smuggler who thought literal holy water would be the best vector for his smuggling? This actually happened in 2008 when customs caught Warren Maynard, a 50-year-old New York man, trying to sneak dozens of bottles of ketamine-laced water that he claimed was holy water. Well, he wasn't technically right in that regard. A bottle of water mixed with a powerful hallucinogen certainly might make a person feel like they're a little closer to the Almighty. He wasn't even the only smuggler to use religion as a shield for his sinister activities. In March 2020, a Cincinnati Customs and Border Patrol team intercepted a collection of religious paintings that just so happened to contain 9.2 pounds of meth with a street value of $16,720. Is nothing sacred anymore? And because subtlety is dead, Bernardino Garcia Cordova, a drug trafficker also known as the Spider, imported a statue of Jesus that was literally made from $30,000 worth of cocaine. And this isn't just a classy ornament for drug lords who also happen to be devout Catholics. DEA spokesperson Stephen Robertson said, "The statue could have been broken down with water, sifted, and then strained to get the all-too-precious powder into street sale form." It's clear that if you want to be successful in this field of criminality, you gotta use your head. But there are right and wrong ways to use your head, as 2 British women aged 17 and 20 found out when they engaged in a harebrained scheme to smuggle $220,000 worth of cocaine stitched to wigs. They were apparently paid only £4,000 to be the mules in this scheme, which probably wasn't worth the risk, or the many years in prison they were likely handed after being caught by the Jamaican authorities and sent back to the UK. This seems to be a pretty embarrassing way to go down. But at least those two anonymous British drug mules aren't alone. In 2011, a 12-person drug ring was arrested in Philadelphia for a more complex but still equally stupid scheme. They were smuggling drugs out of Panama by sewing the drug packets into wigs and weaves before accepting the packages in the US and passing the drugs over to street-level dealers in not one, not two, but 3 different states. Of all the flaws in their plan, a lack of ambition was not one of them. Sometimes it isn't the quantity of drugs smuggled that surprises you, but the location. Fellas, we warn ya, this one, it's gonna make you squirm. 2 different men, Antoine Banks in 2011 and later Joshua Hare in 2016, were both arrested for hiding tiny drug packets under their foreskins. We here at the Infographics Show are not entirely sure that any kind of payment would be worth going through that particular ordeal. Let's get away from that nightmare as soon as possible and instead talk about horses. Don't worry, equestrians, we're not going to tell you anyone's cutting open horses. Well, not yet anyway. In this 2017 story of a deranged drug distribution, Customs seized $1.2 million worth of liquid meth that an enterprising 31-year-old woman had hidden in horse shampoo bottles. Do we think this is a good idea? Nay. Was that too corny? Sorry, we'll show ourselves out through the stable. If all this has left you all feeling a little disturbed, please take a second to rest. How about a snack? Maybe some sweet, delicious strawberry jam. Just make sure that the jam didn't come from this particular shipment of jam that was intercepted by Customs and Border Patrol back in Arizona in 2016. A 51-year-old trucker was caught with 6,500 pounds of contraband marijuana, valued at $3.25 million, hidden inside vats of strawberry jam. Yummy! Food products can be a common vector for drug smuggling. In January 2017, a Southern Border Patrol bust revealed huge quantities of cocaine hidden in cans of tuna and corn. In Melbourne, Australia, customs agents found 5 tons of ecstasy hidden in tins disguised as canned tomatoes. But even the fruits and vegetables themselves aren't safe. The infamous Sinaloa drug cartel has been known to stuff plantains, cucumbers, and coconuts with drugs. The same can be said of burritos, chili peppers, fake carrots, soda cans, candy, yams, and extremely unconvincing packs of limes, which were actually just printed photos of limes wrapped around larger bricks of marijuana with a street value of $500,000. Believe us, this is a lot more appealing than the Texas drug smugglers who hid $459,000 worth of cocaine and marijuana in barrels of grease. Talk about slipping customs. A similarly unappealing smuggling scheme unfolded in Thailand, where a popular variation of methamphetamine known as yaba, translated literally to crazy drug, has taken the scene by storm. One of the weirdest ways of smuggling yaba has been hiding it in the bodies of dead bugs. Though personally we find ferrying around shipments of dead bugs pretty weird and suspicious in its own right. Don't you agree? You'd think it's too risky or too obvious to smuggle drugs inside a car, but professional drug smugglers still find bizarre and novel ways to do it. One bust in early 2017 found a record-breaking $2 million worth of methamphetamine in packs under the dashboard of a Volkswagen Jetta. A white sedan also had $1.3 million of cocaine stashed in a secret compartment hidden behind the license plate. And who could forget the pickup truck that hid $800,000 worth of marijuana in a secret compartment beneath its flatbed? And hey, just in case you were worried that there was literally any part of a vehicle that a drug smuggler couldn't turn into a hiding place, a smuggler at the Presidio border hid $500,000 in meth above the gas tank of a 1999 Mercedes-Benz. And now we understand the true secret of being able to afford a Mercedes-Benz. Wow. But not every drug smuggler about town is willing to settle for something that mundane. Some drug lords truly want to live up to their Bond villain media image. One way of doing that is by investing in a 6-man drug smuggling submarine, or drug marine, if you will. The submarine, powered by diesel and seized in Ecuador in 2010, was designed to carry over 10 metric tons of drugs. And while it may have been intercepted and caught in the end, nobody could deny it is incredibly theatrical. But what if you want to go old school? We're talking World War I old school. In Colombia, there have been documented cases of carrier pigeons being used to transport small pouches of marijuana and crack, like sending wartime messages but far more illegal. How about we go even older school? This time we're talking about medieval old school. Catapults and trebuchets are siege weapons used for taking down castles, but drug cartels have found a new purpose for them, flinging marijuana buds across the border so they can start their own free-range weed farms in the US. It's forced border agents to keep an eye on the land around the fence for any suspicious seedlings. Some people don't care for the classics though. They just want to keep it cutting edge, such as one anonymous drug smuggler who used a drone to smuggle 13 pounds of meth across the border between San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico. Border Patrol intercepted the drone pretty easily and arrested the smuggler, who would later be sentenced to 12 years in prison for his trouble. Perhaps it's better to stick to the classics and invest in a sturdy, reliable trebuchet instead. It still somehow gets crazier from here, though. You may remember such meme movies as the 2006 Samuel L. Jackson classic Snakes on a Plane and the 2023 Elizabeth Banks classic Cocaine Bear. But what if their powers combined into Snakes on a Plane on Cocaine? Except this isn't a movie, it was real, and it happened in 1993 when 80 pounds of cocaine was forced into the bellies of 223 live snakes by drug smugglers. Crazy antics ensued. The snakes somehow escaped, causing chaos throughout the plane, until one quick-thinking cop escorting an important witness to the stand was able to take control of the situation and scene. Snakes on a Plane on Cocaine, coming to your local cinemas next fall. Unfortunately, the reality didn't follow our little movie script. The snakes actually all died from the trauma, much like the bear that inspired Cocaine Bear. But to a drug smuggler, sometimes a dead animal can be just as useful as a live one. The Mexico City drug cartel split a ton of cocaine between 20 dead sharks, which they then tried to sneak into the United States. Much like the dead bugs full of yaba back in Thailand. We can't help but wonder if hiding cocaine in a bizarre shipment of 20 dead sharks might just draw too much unwanted attention to your secret cargo. But hey, we just make infotainment videos on YouTube. Who are we to tell El Chapo how to do his job? Just please don't send any sicarios our way, okay? On the less ambitious side of things, in 2007, some small-time New Zealand criminals tried to get drugs to their incarcerated friends by shoving the drugs into dead birds and throwing them over the prison walls. In 2001, a man named Richard Reed made going to the airport harder for all of us when he tried and failed to detonate a bomb inside his shoe while on an airplane. But it wasn't just Mr. Reed's fault. The TSA soon got another reason to check your smelly sneakers. A man was busted at JFK in New York for allegedly trying to smuggle cocaine in his shoes. He had 4 pounds of cocaine hidden between 6 pairs of shoes in his luggage. He was hoping to make $67,000 on this contraband, and instead all he got was federal narcotics charges from Homeland Security. High risk, no reward. A northern Spanish gang of drug traffickers took shoe-smuggled drugs to a whole new level by also throwing counterfeiting on top. They created high-quality knockoffs of Manolo Blahnik stiletto shoes, held together with cocaine paste. Each pair of shoes sold for $75,000, which for those keeping track is more than the previous guy at JFK Airport stood to gain from all 6 of his life-ruining cocaine shoes. In 2018, Portuguese airport security couldn't help but notice an unusually caked-up Brazilian man strolling through Lisbon International Airport. Nobody will ever know what was going through their heads when they pulled that man aside and asked him to drop his trousers and bare his buttocks. But in that moment, they uncovered a drug smuggler. He was hiding a kilogram of cocaine inside a pair of fake butt cheeks. That's a badonkadon't. But sometimes smugglers go even further than that, such as a Colombian woman arrested in Germany in 2016, whom customs noticed had fresh scars beneath her breasts. This turned out to be because she was hiding a kilogram of cocaine inside her breast implants. I guess you could say we saved the breast for last. Now watch what happens to your body when smoking weed, or check out Devil's Breath, World's Scariest Drug.